glowing reviews, a talented cast of young actors, and a final act that people can't stop talking about. These are just a few of the reasons why Alien Romulus put up such huge box office numbers. Alien Romulus put up surprisingly robust numbers in its opening weekend. The film pulled in around $108 million worldwide in just a few days, with $42 million of that coming from the domestic box office. That's good for the second-best domestic opening weekend in the franchise's history. The success of Romulus also owes some thanks to China, where it overperformed with an astonishing $25.7 million in that country alone. That makes it the second biggest opener in China in 2024, right behind Deadpool and Wolverine. All of this proves there's still heavy interest in the Alien franchise. Romulus represents an improvement over the previous entry, Alien Covenant, which made $36.1 million in its opening frame. Numerous explanations exist for why Romulus struck a chord at this point in time, setting the stage for more Alien movies. More so than other franchises, Alien movies tend to take their sweet time. Each feature-length installment usually takes 5 to 7 years to hit the big screen. Following 1997's Alien Resurrection, the Xenomorphs were tied up in the crossover films Alien vs. Predator and Aliens vs. Predator: Requiem. The series came back with Ridley Scott taking the reins again for 2012's Prometheus, and Scott returned for 2017's Alien Covenant. However, Covenant was largely seen as an underperformer, particularly in the wake of Prometheus.
Hey, baby.
You're strong!
Covenant ended its run with $240 million worldwide, whereas Prometheus brought in over $400 million 5 years prior. Covenant was supposed to receive a follow-up in the form of Alien Awakening, but that film didn't happen and seemingly got shelved in favor of a back-to-basics approach with Alien Romulus. 2019 saw the release of a few Alien short films to commemorate the franchise's 40th anniversary, as well as an Alien Isolation web series. However, it's been a while since an Alien flick was available in theaters. With Covenant somewhat overlooked upon release, people may have been primed for a good old-fashioned Alien movie to get them invested in the series once more. The last two Alien movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, saw Scott clearly trying to take the franchise in a new direction. Prometheus is largely absent of xenomorphs, while both films involve more philosophical discussions about humanity's place in the universe and explore the concept of how humankind's creators could end up hating us.
What do you believe in, David?
Creation.
Ideas concerning original sin and hubris run rampant, and while there are still alien attacks and body horror, they often take a back seat to these larger ideas Scott wants to explore. These departures resulted in mixed receptions for both movies. In particular, Alien Covenant holds a 65% positive rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. General audiences were even more critical, giving the film a score of 55%. In contrast, Alien Romulus takes the franchise back to its roots. The plot largely resembles that of the original Alien, with a group of people trapped on a space station with xenomorphs and facehuggers running amok. Alien Romulus has ample Easter eggs and small details to dig into, as characters literally just quote previous Alien movies. However, there's no denying the results, with audiences responding to an Alien movie that knows it's an Alien movie.
This place gives me the creeps.
Mixed reviews may have kept people away from Alien Covenant, but the Rotten Tomatoes reviews for Alien Romulus were largely positive. Critics and audiences were on the same page with the newest installment, with the film scoring 81% and 86% on the platform, respectively, as of this video. Many appear to think the movie's a fun ride that's everything one could want out of another Alien entry, with The Atlantic writing in its review, Alien Romulus really shines when it plays like a straightforward Alien movie and doesn't pander to the demands of franchisable intellectual property. Interestingly, while some critics praised Romulus for getting back to the roots of the franchise, some reviews criticized the film for being too reliant on the past. The Washington Post issued a mostly positive review while still asserting, "It's a no-frills, straight-up genre piece built largely on the bones of the first two movies. All that's missing are originality and a convincing final act." While many people thought Covenant deviated too much from what had come before, Some critics are now saying Romulus is almost too familiar. You can't please everyone, but these reviews and others likely convinced audiences that Romulus would give them precisely what they wanted out of an Alien flick. And sometimes, that's all you need. While Alien Covenant opened 2 weeks after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 back in 2017, Alien Romulus opened 3 weeks after a different Marvel movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, but fared much better. It's possible that the extra week was enough of a buffer for audiences, plus there really hasn't been anything that could compromise people's excitement over an Alien movie. It Ends With Us targeted a very different crowd, while Borderlands, coming out a week before on August 9th, utterly bombed at the box office. It's also been a solid summer for horror films and thrillers. Longlegs exceeded expectations earlier in July, taking in over $100 million globally against a budget of just $10 million. A Quiet Place Day 1 also blew everyone away at the box office, right before Longlegs came out. While the summer got off on a rocky footing with The Fall Guy and Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga stumbling financially, audiences have been more receptive to seeing movies in theaters lately. While there were concerns that audiences were no longer interested in going to theaters in the advent of streaming, films like Romulus prove otherwise. When someone walks into an Alien movie, they can be pretty certain there will be ample kills courtesy of xenomorphs. Alien Romulus definitely fulfills that promise, featuring kills utilizing acid blood and a xenomorph bursting out of someone's chest. While all of that is largely what fans have seen before from this franchise, Romulus veers off into ridiculously amazing territory in its final act that had people talking, and may have enticed others to check out the film. The ending of Alien Romulus sees Kay inject herself with the black compound, later giving birth to a rapidly evolving entity known as the Offspring. One could say this bears similarities to the newborn from Alien Resurrection, but its aesthetic is far more grotesque. Its facial movements are far more advanced than what we got with the newborn, even smiling at one point, which is enough to send shivers down the spine. While many praised Romulus online, this final act reveal really got people worked up, such as one ex-user who wrote, "The last 10 to 15 minutes of this movie features some of the most insane stuff I've seen in a movie ever." This kind of word of mouth is perfect for any horror film.
What the hell is this?
I don't know.
The xenomorphs may be the main attraction of an Alien movie, but there's no denying that Romulus also boasts a talented young cast. While previous installments have focused on space truckers and Marines, Romulus sees a group of young people trying to avoid working for Weyland-Yutani for the rest of their lives, which brings them to the Renaissance space station. Some rising talent exists within these ranks, all of whom have bright futures ahead of them. The cast is led by Rain, played by Kaylee Spaney, who made waves earlier in 2024 with Civil War, and jumped on many people's radars with the lead role in 2023's Priscilla. David Johnson has earned a great deal of praise for portraying the synthetic human Andy, who veers between brotherly care and cunning manipulation. Meanwhile, Isabella Merced has numerous credits to her name already, and she's poised for bigger breakouts next year with The Last of Us Season 2 and James Gunn's Superman. Having young actors with growing fan bases in the cast, it's possible that people who wouldn't otherwise be interested in an Alien movie may have checked it out just for them. When looking at a movie's financial success, a film's budget is just as important a factor as the opening weekend box office numbers. Keeping the budget in check ensures that a movie doesn't have to break $1 billion to be seen as a success. And with that in mind, Alien Romulus should do just fine in the long run. Alien Romulus carries a budget of roughly $80 million, which is certainly a large chunk of dough, but is nowhere near what other blockbusters cost. While marketing expenses also need to be considered, Romulus opening with $108 million globally means it's on track to turn a profit if it gets to $200 million. Its leaner budget also puts it in an inherently better position than the most recent entries in the franchise. Prometheus had a budget of around $130 million, while Alien Covenant was also a bit higher than Romulus at $97 million. With solid word of mouth, Romulus could have stellar legs. There also shouldn't be much in the way of competition in the coming weeks. The Crow remake comes out August 23rd, but predictions suggest it may not even top the original's box office haul from 30 years ago. For those wanting a heavy dose of nostalgia, Alien Romulus may still be their best ticket. One might assume a film in a long-running franchise can get by on name value alone. However, Alien Romulus proves that investing in a solid marketing strategy can bring dividends even for an existing IP. First and foremost, the Romulus trailers all had fans saying the same thing about how frightening the facehuggers were. The trailers also drew parallels to the original Alien and featured expert sound design that made the pre-chest-bursting sequence hit so much harder. Alien Romulus followed in the footsteps of other 2024 movies like Dune Part 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine by having its own custom popcorn bucket. The marketing also entered the real world with a viral stunt where people were lying motionless around Times Square with facehuggers attached to them. Plenty of folks took videos and photos, adding to the awareness and interest surrounding the movie. Name recognition is no longer enough to sell a movie. Even Marvel movies are no longer guaranteed hits, as evidenced by The Marvels bombing last year. The trailer showed off how utterly terrifying Alien Romulus would be, while real-world stunts got people talking even more. The campaign as a whole was a masterclass in raising awareness for a recognizable property, so it shouldn't be surprising that people's curiosity drew them to theaters on opening weekend. Going on Letterboxd or X following the opening of Alien Romulus is a treat just to see people's rankings for the franchise. While Alien and Aliens often get the top spots, some people have more eclectic tastes, asserting that Prometheus or even Alien 3 is the best.
The only question is, what are you gonna do about it?
The truth is, the Alien franchise has taken many big chances over the decades, with each installment doing something a little different from what's come before. Alien Romulus is essentially a greatest hit of the franchise, offering a little something for everyone who's been invested in the series. At its core, the premise of any Alien movie is straightforward. Trap a bunch of people with a killer xenomorph on the loose. Simultaneously, there's also a rich mythology that can be expanded upon, allowing for the exploration of numerous themes, from humankind confronting its creators to corporations taking often fatal advantage of its workers. It allows the franchise to evolve in new directions, with Alien Earth, a new TV series from Noah Hawley, coming to FX in 2025. With Alien Romulus, it's clear that Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox hasn't forced the studio to hold back on hard sci-fi and horror. 2024 alone has seen several stellar new series entries, like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and The First Omen. Alien Romulus continues that trajectory, setting up exciting things for this franchise's future.